Hey, all happy New Year. It is a brand new year. We can officially call this 2025. I know
you got a lot of energy right now.
To it. I've been looking forward to it. Rebecca, your mom, my beautiful wife, she's been looking forward to 2025. She's got a list of goals this long, and I know she's going to achieve each and every one of them. Do you have your goals set up in place, sir?
I don't usually do goals. Usually don't do the New Year's goals. I think we talked about this before. I like to set small, attainable goals throughout the year instead of one large goal at the beginning of the year that usually just ends up fading away after January.
Let me ask you this. All right, like most people, and I've been there myself, so I'm throwing myself on this bus. Are you going to be at the gym tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.?
I'm going to be in bed. I'm going to be in bed.
Well, that answers everything you need to know.
Exactly. But I mean, no, I wish I could go back to like 2003 or 2004 because I've been trying to find the Lollipop Paint Shop candy paintbrushes with the sugar in it because that's the best candy that's ever been produced. I actually reached out to the company that made them, and they said that they no longer have the equipment to manufacture those types of things.
You did not.
And I might have asked if I could buy the equipment.
You absolutely did not.
No, I actually did. I can't remember who it was. It was a larger candy company. But, you know, if I could do one thing in life, it would be to time travel and just...
Well, here we go.
Maybe also, like...
So, there's your...
invest in Google or something.
It's coming full circle in 2025. Bring back the paintbrush candy.
They can, and I get it, right? Like, parents probably don't want to have their kids licking paintbrushes and, like, paint, right? But, like, I did that as a kid, and like, I turned out fine.
He's okay.
I turned out okay,
he's right.
Decent. No, but I think, you know, 2024 in the whiskey space was a lot. There was a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot of craft distilleries coming out.
Yep.
American single malts got their own not certification, but like American single malts are a thing, similar to how bourbon is. There's standards.
I love that. They
cool.
have been working so hard for multiple years. Is it what a TTB? Is that what it is, Trent?
I believe so. TTB.
Anyways, to get their designated space.
Designated.
Yep. In the U.S. as American single malt. So, you know, they're just in line with all the rest of them with bourbon and rye and, you know, American single malt is now a designated spirit in the United States. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I
applaud them for their efforts. So many distilleries and folks there worked very, very hard to make that happen. And I think that's a great thing. That's a big win. 2024 in my books. I enjoy it immensely. I think it's a big win.
Yeah. So we're going to use this video to go over bourbon predictions, what we think is going to happen in the space. Granted, a lot of that is just kind of, I've done a little bit of research here and there, and just kind of how I feel when we're talking to people and just getting an understanding of what maybe the market is. I'm not like going in like a Charles Schwab analyst and looking at stocks and like all this stuff.
Can we throw in our opinions of 2024, good and bad?
Yeah.
Pros and cons?
Absolutely.
Because I like to do that too. I only got a little bit. But
well, I'll let you start off.
2024, I'll tell you one thing right now, my biggest disappointment. And we heard it loud and clear in the comments of our top 5 non-allocated bourbon. Trust me, I know there were some negative comments in there, which is, you know, somewhat unusual for our page, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to know. I don't want dishonesty. That's one thing I do not want. You know, so I'm okay with that. We did have quite a bit of craft distilleries in our non-allocated top 5 of the year. Folks, they came out strong.
They really did.
They had those whiskeys that we put in front of you are absolutely fantastic. My biggest gripe of 2024 is the legacy distillers, ones that have been around forever. In my opinion, they're concentrating so much, and they're still on that path of trying to put out as many limited type allocated releases as they possibly can, putting all of their resources into these, and some of them are great bottles. Let's just talk about it right now, Trent. Let's talk about Wild Turkey. Okay,
please, yeah.
Let's do that. As you all know, I love Wild Turkey. I think it's fantastic. I really do. One of my goals for 2025 is sit down and have a pour of some vintage Wild Turkey with David Jennings of Rare Bird 101. Let's make that happen. I'd love to do that. So I love Wild Turkey, but you know, they have put a lot of their resources and fantastic barrels into incredible, limited, expensive releases.
Yeah.
And I think it's proven with the Russell's 15 year. It was our number one for allocated. And it just turns out that Fred Minnick,
Oh, yeah.
the name escaped me for a second, he did it. You know, how he does that, I'll never know. How he tastes 100 of anything.
I'd have been in the hospital with alcohol poisoning.
You know, I couldn't taste 100 hamburgers in a day, so let alone try to find out, you know, but he's the professional. You know, he is a professional.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Russell's Reserve 15 was his number one for 2024. So they've done an incredible job, but what if they put on the shelves for, you know, typical normal folks that go into their local liquor stores, you know, once every few weeks?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All the same. The 101, the Kentucky Spirit, the Russell's Reserve 10 year, and every once in a while, if you're lucky to find a Russell's Reserve single barrel, you know, those kind of, it's all the same. Old Forester.
Discontinue Statesman. Just stop.
Just please.
Not making it.
Now they did come out with, I don't know, is the 1924 supposed to stay in play?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see.
But we can go on and on. I do applaud, and I said it before, I'll say it again right now. I do applaud Jim Beam for coming out with a few, and so far they've been shelf stable
Yeah.
products that are very budgetary, you know, consideration with the budgetary type whiskey.
That was the best
Jim
budget
Beam
release in 2024, hands down.
So
$27
yeah,
for 7 year.
And I always get this wrong because the names change and things change hand. But Luxro or whatever, what is it?
Luxro, MGP, Rebel,
Yeah.
like all under the same
Yeah,
umbrella.
they came out with a couple. Remember?
Rebel 6
You know,
year.
so I'll give them credit, a couple. But for the most part, please, in 2025, try to give the good folks out there and ourselves, add something to your core releases. Take one away. Add something that might be even a little bit better.
Yeah.
In a $30 to $60 range.
That needs to happen.
It
Like,
needs to
100%.
happen.
100%.
It needs to happen. In economic times that we have, you know, people are being very conscientious of the money that they spend, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
We have people in our Discord. I just saw it the other day. One person in particular. I haven't bought anything all year. I'm just enjoying what I have, enjoying the Discord space and our Patreon community. Just being there. Didn't buy about nothing all year. Come out with stuff that we can find. I feel bad for you. I do. I didn't want to address that video right away, but I do feel bad for some of the folks out there. But we wanted to put whiskeys in front of you that we felt were top notch. And they're not allocated.
They're distributed. I think one of the things is that there's a big difference between non-allocated and just a craft distilleries that don't have the means to have wide distribution.
Correct.
And I know that's difficult. Thankfully, there's folks like Bourbon Outfitters and Sealbox that
Correct.
are kind of helping bring some of these
Thank you for that.
craft distilleries online.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, there's always going to be some kind of state restriction, whether you live in Utah, whether you're paying more for shipping
Mm-hmm.
just to get these things. It's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
right? You get access to some more maybe premium or some craft distilleries that are doing really cool stuff, but you got to pay an arm and a leg for the shipping, and you got to wait a couple weeks for it to get in, or you got to have it shipped to your buddy, and then you got to wait for him to come to your house for the holidays and give it to you. There's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot.
But I don't want to put all of this on the distilleries, but like non-allocated stuff isn't really that common anymore if you're leaving out craft distilleries, because what they're putting out is non-allocated. It's just hard to find, not because it's that good and everybody's lining up in tents outside of Specs to get one, but because they don't have the means to distribute.
Correct.
And I think there's 3,200 distilleries in the U.S. now. So distilleries, when they go to distributors to try and get them to pick up their product, some of them are so backlogged they don't even take new stuff. So there's probably a lot of stuff out there that's just sitting in barrels and aging, while RNDC or Southern or whoever is like gonna take a chance on some of these craft distilleries, and I hope that they do.
Yeah, I do too.
A lot of the best stuff that we had in 2024 was craft stuff.
Yes.
Because I think legacy or these larger distilleries are becoming
Heritage distilleries, or whatever you want to call them, ones that have been around forever.
are becoming a little bit too complacent. And granted, like you have, like let's say Limestone Farms, for example, their private stock I think was $200.
Yes.
And then you have something like a Heaven Hill 18 or whatever that's also like $250. Same price, the Heaven Hill's older, but it's so hyper allocated that you have a better chance of finding a Limestone Farms online. That doesn't take away from the price being very high for a bottle of whiskey.
No, it does not.
But these distilleries like Heaven Hill have so much more resources that, I mean, come on, they got to have more 18-year barrels somewhere or something. I'm not going to speak to how a distillery runs because I'd sound like an idiot if I did.
No, and neither am I. All I can do is express a personal opinion. That's all it is a personal opinion. Please, somehow, Heritage Distilleries, Legacy Distilleries, add some things to your core releases that the normal folk can walk into most liquor stores and see something new on the shelf, and it's pretty good.
I would also like to see these larger distilleries kind of go outside their comfort zone, like Four Roses, make a rye.
Sure.
Make it not stale anymore. How many apart from single barrels you get at a store? Now I'm just getting on a rant now.
We are. I did too. But that's what we do. This is what we do. We did it last year too. We get it.
I think it's fun, but
yeah, it's our first video of the year, and this is what we're thinking.
Apart from the 10 recipes that you can get from a single barrel at any given store, granted, there's a lot of variety in these single barrels from Four Roses.
Yeah.
They do one limited release a year, and that's it.
Yep.
Like, that's boring. Come on. So many stores now just are overflowing with barrel picks. A couple of years ago, they used to be not as common. You can go into so many stores now, find a Maker's Mark pick. You can find a Nulu pick. You can find so many different picks, and they're all probably pretty good.
Sure.
But going into those stores now, as folks like maybe us or maybe you that are currently watching this that have been in the game for a while, you have 5 or 6 different Maker's picks. You have a ton of different picks.
How many Old Forester 1920s can one person buy?
Exactly. Like, keep it. I think that's why craft distilleries are so refreshing, because they're doing stuff. And again, some of the craft stuff, it usually comes at a higher price point, limited distribution. But utilize a Seal Box or utilize a Bourbon Outfitters or Shared Pour or some of these online retailers, Curiata, that have these craft distilleries as like the top of their list to help get in front of other people.
Yeah. I said Old Forester, 1910, wonderful bottle.
Fantastic.
But you add the current economic times, where everybody's a little bit tighter. We got to watch what we're spending. We don't have money coming out of our ears. How many times or how many bottles of 1910 you gonna? I mean, if you got one, you got a 1920, you got a 1910. Are you folks actually looking for more Old Forester? If it isn't an allocator limited, no, you're not.
Which, by the way,
you have it already.
By the way, old birthday bourbon once a year.
Yeah. So just that, and that's why we came out with it, because they tasted the best. We had some other ones in there. We had Old Forester 1924 in the mix for the tasting. It just didn't make it in the top 5. But I would love to have included a lot of fantastic Heritage Distilleries product into our top 5 tastings that most people could truly find on the shelf, but it just didn't exist this year, 2024.
And this year when we do the list, we might kind of break this down. Hopefully, if there's more non-allocated stuff, we'll break it down into our favorite craft distilleries, our favorite non-allocated, and kind of divvy it up that way based on some of the feedback.
We appreciate the feedback.
So thank you,
honestly.
for the feedback.
Yeah, we do. All right. Well, that was my soapbox, bro. So I don't know. I mean, that's my thought.
So you got the secondary market is down about 30% from maybe mid 2023. Weller 12, for example, I use kind of Weller 12 as a decent benchmark. It was it was 250, like pretty average, and now it's like 150, 175.
Okay.
So it's going down. Elmer T. Lee's like 150 now. I see it going for, so that's 50% down. I think a lot of these secondary prices are going to continue to fall just a little bit. I don't think it's going to tank down a ton compared to what it is now, but I think it is going to continue to go down a little bit throughout the year. I think American single malts are going to be probably a pretty big thing in 2025. I'm hoping so.
I think it's on the rise.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
No, not at all. But there's some really solid options in 2024 that you can kind of help get your palate acquainted to if you want to dive into something a little bit different.
Yes.
There's so much different flavors and so many other things in it. But again, not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
I'm hoping that some more ryes come out in 2025. I honestly, I'm not getting I'm not getting bored of bourbon by any means. It's still awesome. It's still fun.
No, and let me just say this right now. Don't mean to interrupt you. I don't think you said bourbon sales are down like 30%.
They're not down. They're not down that much, but they're not. They are down compared to last year's sales.
Okay. I don't think there's a decrease of 25 to 30% of individuals that are sipping bourbon and enjoying whiskey.
No.
That's not the case. They're just more educated buyers. They're not out like I was 4 or 5 years ago and buying everything I could possibly put my eyeballs on.
Yeah,
we're all
everybody
a little
had
bit
that.
more educated, and we're a little bit more choosy. Don't have as much money in our wallet, and so we're just not purchasing as much. I don't think the amount of folks who actually truly enjoy whiskey, sharing and enjoying it with family and friends, that number's down.
Yeah.
So, in a business sense, to me, that I'm gonna get back to that again. I don't want to. These distilleries need to just think about that, and what can we do to amp up our sales again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things too that we look at from like our own individual lens here in like this little whiskey tube space is that a lot of distilleries aren't necessarily looking at all of us and our opinions for what they should be doing. They're looking at their sales from these large data sources and like all this other stuff to figure out, okay, Johnny on the street over there, he's just a Wild Turkey 101 guy or a Maker's Mark guy. We'll just continue to do that. And then they'll be like, oh, these guys are paying $250 for a Maker's Mark, or not a Maker's Mark, a Master's Keep 10-year rye.
I just finished a drywall job today, sanded it out. It was in a few garages. He's got the most cool cars known to mankind. It was beautiful. Old Chevy Bel Air, an old Corvette was in there.
Oh, nice.
And there was, I can't remember, it's just beautiful stuff. It's got like a sprawling type under the house type garage thing. And I was doing repairs. And in an area over there, he had a box of bourbon, 4 handles of Maker's Mark. I mean, just what he said. There's folks out there like that. He was more of a Scotch guy. Now, he did have some Scotch bottles tucked away. Of course, I have to look. I didn't taste any. Trust me, I didn't do that. But I had to peek.
Wow.
But he had a few more Scotch. But his bourbon, legitimately, Trenton, that's the only bourbon he had was 4 handles of Maker's Mark.
You gotta respect it.
Yeah.
Everybody likes what they like.
That's all.
But yeah, I think like you look at, I think there's going to be some decrease in distilleries actually producing barrels. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more stuff that might have been allocated a couple years ago start to kind of make its way onto shelves. Maybe stuff from Buffalo Trace, maybe from Bland's, Eagle Rare. I'm hoping.
I am too.
We'll see about that though. It's becoming a little bit more available in the area. Maybe not on the shelf for several days, but it's on the shelf for a couple more hours than it might have been before. But I mean, how many Bland's can you get? How many Eagle Rares do you really need? They're okay.
Dude.
They're okay. Bland's is mid, but what are you gonna do?
Buffalo Trace appeals to most everybody because it's for the most part sweet.
Yeah.
And, and they know what they're doing.
They do.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't blame people for that.
Except with the E.H. Taylor proof rye.
And that bottle is gorgeous. Come on now. The Blanton's bottle?
No, it's probably the best.
Come on now. That thing is just gorgeous.
It's probably one of the best bottles out there.
It is.
But I think too, like with some of this more cutting back on production and stuff, I think you're going to see some other spirits kind of come on the rise. Maybe it's tequila. Maybe it's finally rum. They've been saying rum for a decade now, and it still hasn't quite hit the stride. Mm-hmm. And then you look at some of these. I don't know how you would describe like a Kentucky Owl, but they filed for bankruptcy. I think you're going to see some, whether it's an NDP, whether it's somebody who makes their own that maybe is outpricing their core customer base, has small distribution. I think you're going to see some folks go under this year, and that's unfortunate. But I mean, Kentucky Owl was putting out nothing but $120 plus releases that just weren't 100%. Cutting the mustard. They did have their Wiseman, the bourbon and the rye for $40 some, but. Mm-hmm. I'd have rather had an Old Forester 100 or something like that.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and we tried. I was excited when they did that because at that time they were doing the confiscated, the 10-year bourbon, the 11-year rise for $200. Can't keep doing that.
No,
that can't be your whole business model.
No,
especially if it's sourced from like a Barton, if it's sourced from MGP or something like. Anyways.
All right, buddy. Let's bring this to a close. What are you looking forward to in 2025 personally? Now, this is a whole nother show, but is there anything on the top of your head that you've heard about? Little ruffles in the wind.
Jack Daniel's 14 is probably. I haven't been.
I've heard that one too.
I haven't been dialed in.
Heard that one too.
I haven't been dialed into the.
It's an allocated, of course, but probably.
Into the limited releases of 2025 yet, but
Jack Daniel's 14. Holy cow!
we will see if we were fortunate enough to get one of those.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking forward to hopefully seeing some more efficiently priced things, some good stuff coming from larger distilleries at a good price. That's actually like another Jim Beam 7.
Yep.
Please, every distillery.
Please.
A couple more ryes from like Four Roses, please. Please just do a rye.
One thing I can guarantee all you folks, we're going to be the same. We're not changing. It is what it is. We're going to roll into 2024 with we're not doing commercials or what do you call it? It's not,
Ads.
No, it's not YouTube ads. It's confusing. Sponsorships.
Read-ins.
We're not doing. We're not doing any of that. We're going to stand in front of the camera. We're going to press play, and whatever happens, happens.
Dude, I was hoping to get sponsored by World of Tanks.
Get out of here,
man. Love that. Love World of Tanks.
We're going to get to go. That's all we know how to do.
Yeah.
That's it. So we're going to stay the same. We're going to continue on with what we do. I will promise you one thing. For me personally, I will be scouring the shelves for anything in the first quarter that comes out new, because we did have a couple of really nice products come out in the first quarter of 2024.
We did?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the Jim Beam 7 out in the first quarter, and then the Luxro thing I was telling you about.
First or second, I think.
Yeah, that was another one that came out that I thought was really good. They came out with a few nice products as well. But I'll be scouring the shelves, honestly, to come up with hopefully some releases that these distilleries have been able to put out that everybody should be able to find at a decent price.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be making tracks all over the place trying to find those things for you guys, and trying to be doing what he does.
I'll try anything that I get. Really.
Yeah, I know.
There was. We'll save this for a different video, because the same company that made the Beaver Anus whiskey, the Death Flower whiskey, the Crab whiskey, and the Deer Slayer, the Venison whiskey, has something else coming out, I think.
Oh my.
That sounds terrible, but also very interesting, and I bet I will be trying to find it.
We'll be having fun, that's for sure. All right, guys. That's all I got for you today. I hope you have a fantastic day. Enjoy the holiday. I hope you're able to spend some quality time with your family and friends. As always, we ask you to please drink responsibly. See you next time, right down here with Trent and me in the good old basement bourbon bar. See you later.